Well, friends, I am so excited. I get to talk to one of my friends today. And it seems like we only get to chat when we're interviewing each other on podcasts. But I am thrilled to have my friend Arlene Pellicane here today. We're talking about her book, Making Marriage Easier. I have so many things to say about this, which I'm loving all of it. But first of all, Arlene, why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
I'm so happy to be with you also, Trisha. So, making marriage easier, how to love and like your spouse for life. So, James and I have been married for 26 years. And I was the girl who was like, please let me date someone and marry them like right now. And then it's like high school goes by, college goes by, your working goes by, and just like, Lord, are you ever going to bring this person into my life? So, when I met and married James, we met in graduate school. It was like, thank you, Lord. And so I love to
Mm,
write books to encourage the family because like finding a husband and being married really has been a joy. And as you look around, you're like, oh, for some people, this is not a joy. So
yes.
I've been trying. So that's why I try to encourage people, kind of like recognize what you have. And then the same goes with kids. We had trouble having kids. We had trouble with infertility. I miscarried at 26 weeks. We had all sorts of things. And then when we actually
Mm,
had three healthy children, kind of a similar story like, wow, God, you gave us children. These children are not a burden. These children are not awful. Like these children are a blessing. So through my books, I try to help parents, take care of their marriages if they're married, and then have that attitude of like, hey, we can do this. So I write books like Parents Rising, Screen Kids, about delaying screens, addictive screens as much as possible. And then the podcast is called the Happy Home Podcast, where I interview wonderful people like yourself. And I have three kids. We have three kids, and they're now a college graduate that's working, one in college and one in high school. And we go boy, girl, girl. So it's great to be with you.
yeah. Oh, it's so fun. I always just love talking with you. I know I've sat in some of your work or sat in some of your workshops when we've been like at MomCon or different
Yes,
events, and then it's like these passing like, oh, I really like you. I wish we had more time together.
totally same.
But it's been fun because I'm about halfway through Making Marriage Easier, and I just feel like I just am hanging out with you and hearing your stories and laughing because some of them are so cute and funny.
Yes.
But okay, this is the truth though. I feel like we have a really, really strong marriage, like which I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
So John and I have been married 35 years, and I married
Yes.
him after getting pregnant in high school and having my son, and then praying for someone who will love God and love me and love my son. And God brought John, who is just such an amazing person. I'm thankful for him every day. I just feel he's a huge gift. So I feel like our marriage is
Yeah.
pretty strong. And so I'm like, well, I'll just listen. I bought the audiobook, the Audible book, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll just listen because I'm going to interview. And I'm like, there's some good things I'm taking away from it. So I would say, like, don't feel, even though it's making marriage easier, don't
Yeah.
feel that you have to have a bad marriage or you're really
Totally.
struggling in your
Totally.
marriage to enjoy this book. I have gotten so much out of it. I've been uplifted. I feel like there's some things I can apply to make my great marriage even better. So
Yes.
I just wanted to put that out there because I know sometimes, like, I don't buy or read very many marriage books. So I'm like, we have a great, strong marriage. So I just wanted to say that because I have really taken away some wonderful things.
I love that. I'm so glad. I know it's the kind of thing where if it's on your bedstand, it doesn't mean you have a hard marriage. Some people are like, "Oh,
Exactly.
making marriage easier." The spouse is like, "Why did you buy that book? Am I so hard to get along with?" And it's just this whole idea of, "Hey, we're gonna be married. What can we do to make this better?" So I love that you said that because it's true. It's for any marriage.
Yeah, and I love that there's such practical things, and you always start with like a story, which some of them were cracking me up, like your bridal or your marriage registry when he was putting like roach spray on it, like
Totally.
such a practical. My husband is like
Oh my
so
word.
practical about everything, and he's like, "Why did you buy
Right.
this?" I'm like, "Cause it's cute." Like, we're
What
in the
is the
middle of
practical
moving.
usage of this?
I know,
Yes.
he's like, "Do you need all these books?" "Absolutely, I need I need all these books." But it's so funny that, these practical men are married to very creative, whimsical women, so those stories are so cute, but I'll tell you, one of the things that I really loved was about the dragon and about talk about communication and the dragon because 'cause I'm like,
Yeah.
that is so good because sometimes because we do have a good marriage, And there's things that, well, that kind of bothers me a little bit, but then it bothers me a little bit more. And I don't bring it up until it really
Yeah.
bothers me, then it becomes a big thing. So share
Yes.
a little bit about
Yeah.
that because I think communication in marriage is, even if you have a good marriage, is hard. If you have a hard marriage, it's really hard. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. There's this children's book where there's a little dragon in the book, and in this children's book, the dragon is real, not imagined. It's not in the imagination of the child. And the kid's like, "Look at this dragon," but the mom is like, "There is no such thing as dragons." So the dragon keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until the dragon takes over the whole house, and it's like the whole house is shifted from its foundation and sitting on the dragon's back. And finally, when she admits, like, "Oh, yeah, I guess there is a dragon," then the dragon goes back down to the normal size, of a cat, of a little thing.
Right.
And it just gives this picture in a very entertaining way of, there are things in our lives that need to be talked about. But if we keep
Hmm.
saying, like, "That's nothing, that's nothing, that's nothing," then all of a sudden it becomes this huge, insurmountable thing because you've been saying it's nothing while it's been steadily growing over weeks and months and years. But when you finally say, "Oh, you want to talk about our finances. Oh, you want to talk about the way I treat your mother. Oh, you want to talk about our sex life." Then all of a sudden, like Mr. Rogers, in the Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood movie, anything that is mentionable is manageable. And so,
Mm.
okay, we can talk about this. So that really helps. So our thing that showed this dragon that really kind of set the stage for our marriage is when we were seriously dating, not engaged, but seriously dating. James said to me, "There's something I want to tell you, but I just don't know how to tell you." And I was like, "Oh my word, I hope this is not the like proposal because this would be really lame." But then he
Yeah.
says to me, "You have these hairs on your upper lip. Have you ever thought of
I
electrolysis?"
think I literally gasped because I'm listening to the audiobook. I'm like, oh.
And so I'm on the date with him and I'm like, no, not really." And I was so awkward. I got all flushed, all hot. And I said, "Oh, well, look at the time. I have to go study. I have to go." And I just left. I was like, I didn't know what to say. Like, what do I do?
Right.
And I went to the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and those little like hairs, right, that have basically had my entire life. I'm looking at them and all of a sudden I feel like Groucho Marx, like, and that's someone with a very big mustache for many of you who have no idea who that is. But I'm looking at myself like, "Oh my goodness, I have this big furry mustache and I guess I've been blinded to it." So I went to the phone book then, these yellow pages, and I'm looking up like laser, 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 electrolysis, electrolysis, electrolysis. And I got my upper lip zapped to get those little hairs off. Now, obviously, a lot could have happened. I could have been like super
Mhm.
offended, like, "How dare you talk about my appearance? How dare you like belittle me and make me," but it was
Mm.
private. It was just him and me. It wasn't like a crowded room where it's like, "Have you guys ever seen her lip?" It wasn't like
Yeah,
that.
right,
And
right.
and he was like super struggling, like, "How do I say this to her?" So when it didn't turn into this big fight, because the truth of the matter was I did have hair on my upper lip. So when it didn't turn into this big thing, he was like, "Okay, like maybe I
Mm.
can marry her because I can like tell her stuff and then we can do it." And his claim afterwards to kind of like clean up damage control, he was like, "Arlene," later, he's like, "I was really thinking of asking you to marry me." This is after we're engaged. And I just thought to myself, like, if I can't bring up your lip, like, how in the world are we gonna figure out, like, where are we gonna live? What do we do with money? Like, public school, private school, your parents, my parents, like, how are we gonna figure this stuff out if I'm not even allowed to talk about hair, you know?
Right.
So, I think that if we can be more receptive, right? Both as husbands and wives, that, "Hey, if you wanna say something hard to me," I don't have to, like, jump for joy, but I could be like, "Tell me more about that." And then if I can just say nothing because 'cause I'm just speechless, then it's fine. Just say nothing and be like, "Thank you. I've heard that, and let's talk about that another day after the shock of what you just said
Right.
rolls over me." But that safety in knowing you can tell me these things, especially, like, around sex, because people don't talk about
Mhm.
sex because it's like, "Oh, that's awkward. I don't talk about that," etcetera. But that statistically, those couples who talk about sex, they're happier. And so it just with sex. So it's just sometimes the ability to bring up a tough topic. And so don't let the dragon grow. It's okay. But be a safe person yourself so that when something's brought up, you're not like, "Why would you say that?" What do you mean? Like, if you're like that, then it's like, "Oh, yeah, we're just going to let the dragons grow because that was no fun." So we have to work at making that okay. And
Mhm.
for me, a lot of times it's just listening and then, withdrawing to the bathroom. That's where, it's like you're sitting on the toilet and I'm just praying, like, Jesus, please help me to not be mad or be mad at the right things. And then just show me, like, what is he really trying to communicate? Like, what hurt or sadness is he trying to communicate? And show me, like, what am I supposed to do? And honestly, those little prayers help a lot to
Mhm.
soften our hearts towards our spouses.
And I think so. I think so many times we try, I mean, through conversation, and of course, our conversations, like, we're used to like having emotion and getting into these conversations.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, I'm just stating the facts here. Like, you spend way too much money on Amazon. Like, we have to
Right.
cut to Amazon. But I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like a horrible person or whatever. Like, nope, this is just the facts. But I think so many times we internalize it. And I've been working a
Yeah.
lot with my kids on, especially my older kids that are on their own. I have 7 that are on their own,
Yeah.
3 still at home, but, like, the drama triangle, whether they're at work or whatever situations, like, we don't have to jump in the drama triangle, which is either
Yeah.
we don't have to be a hero and save the day. We
Yeah.
don't, if someone does something, have to be a victim. Like, you could have been a victim, like, "How could you? Like, I
Right.
thought you
How
cared for me,
rude.
and
Yeah.
you were bringing up this
How
hair is a,"
awful.
yeah,
Yeah.
how awful. Or then if we're hurt, we're gonna be a villain, like, "I'm just not gonna talk to you. This is like, I'll find someone else who appreciates all of me,"
That's right.
And so then we're gonna be a villain, and
Treasures.
we're gonna lash out at the other person or give them
Yeah.
consequences. And often, like, we feel like we have to either, again, hero, villain, victim, any of those things. We're actually like, okay, they're just trying to communicate. We don't have to be offended by it. We can hear
Yeah.
it, understand, and of course, it's easier to say sometimes than it is to do. But the more we can understand, especially with our husbands, their conversation is just at this level of conversation of
Not trying to
communication,
hurt your
not
feelings.
trying to hurt your feelings. Yes.
That's so funny. My husband loves to say, "There's no good way to say this." Like, whatever it is he's trying to say, like, "Please, vacuum the carpet," whatever it is, like, "There's no good way for me to ask you to do this, so I'm just gonna ask you to do this."
Yeah, and just realize, like, again, if we're gonna be married and have every part of our lives connected, we're gonna have to communicate money, sex, I mean,
Yeah.
vacations, anything, we're gonna have to talk about things that aren't always the easy things. That we're gonna have
Yeah.
to have hard things. We just had my husband, my grandma's lived with us for 25 years. He's like, when your grandma moved in with us in 1999, I did not realize I was gonna be for 25
Oh, yeah.
years.
You imagine?
Yeah, but he
Oh
said
my
it in the sweetest
goodness.
way, like, I was not offended, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And he's cared for her, like,
Yes.
provided for her, helped her, like, whatever she needs, and so but it's like, you're right, I wasn't planning on 25 years either,
It's a
and
long
he was
time.
so caring and
Yeah.
loving towards her, and, like,
Yeah.
I could have been offended, like, "Oh my goodness," "But how could you say that?" When she's
But
so
look at
close to death.
look at the
Yes,
actions. It's like, "Hey, you've stuck through this for 25 years, so yes, so I'm
yes.
not gonna take that the wrong way." Totally.
Y Yeah. So I love that. I love that about communication because I think a communication is where a lot of people fall short. And like the dragon, we don't bring things up until all these little things pile up until it becomes a big thing. And then those walls go up. We don't feel like we can communicate. So that one was like, oh, that is a really good. I love the dragon illustration. And if you're just able to talk about it, then you're
Yeah.
able to move past it and whatever conversation needs to come after that is able to just happen.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing. Okay, this is another thing I'm taking away. I loved when you talk about, once you add kids to it, there's, we're
Mhm.
always what's best for the kids. We want to make sure we're giving them the good best education and these activities. And one thing, it was like, oh my goodness, this is so good. You said like, and sometimes not doing those things is just better, so you be better prepared, be better rested to care for your spouse, to care for your marriage. I'm like, you're right. Like, so many times, I think as once we're parents, our decisions are like, what's best for this child? This would give them great opportunities, but maybe it's okay just to say, you know what? Yes, that might be better for the child, or maybe not. But I think my spouse just needs me to be home more for this season. That was like,
Right?
okay,
It's
that,
right,
that
it's
I'm pondering that. I've been pondering that the last couple of days, Arlene.
It's not what people talk about, it's
Mhm.
lots of we're very child-centered, we're very like, let's give our child every opportunity, and of course, yes, you do things good for your children, of course, but at the end of the day, if you have a strong marriage, if you like your spouse, if they
Mhm.
see you holding hands, if they see you like, oh, they love each other, they have complete safety that my mom and dad, like, they're not going anywhere, they love each other, they have a good relationship, like, that gives them such a basis to thrive, whatever they choose to do in life. But let's say you're just running ragged, right? So mom is
Mhm.
running ragged. We're going to all these activities. Dad feels ignored because mom is always will bend over backwards for the kids. But, date night, sorry, don't have time. Could you help me with this project at work? No, of course I have all this stuff to do with the kids. Hey, honey, you want to kiss for a little bit? I don't have time for that. So all that happens underneath. And then especially you think if it happens for 18 years, and then
Mhm.
when our kids leave and then there's trouble, whether that is ultimately a divorce or it's just a cold marriage, like it's not a good thing to give to our kids. So really to realize, oh my goodness, even though we have these beautiful children that are amazing and that need us, that this adult man, wow, he needs me too still, because think of it before children, all that attention, affection went to your spouse, right? And then now the kids come and he gets like this little, you get 5 minutes every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Everybody else gets everything else. So really, I think it's the mindset that says date night is okay and we'll get a
Mhm.
babysitter as long as they're safe. Like even if our kids cry, they don't have a good time, that's fine. You can have a not good time for 2
Right.
hours. So mommy and daddy go out to dinner. I'm fine with that. When there are too many activities and it's like you decide as a family, hey, we can't go to 3 sports. So you guys, you'll just have to all do baseball or everybody's that's how we did it. Everyone played the
Yes.
piano. Everyone went to the same piano teacher. Everyone did karate together. We all did the same thing because that's what worked. And so thinking through not only is this going to be good for my child, but how is this going to impact the family dynamic? Am I gonna have enough energy to be with my spouse and be nice? Because if you just are so spent every day that you're like, "Oh, good, I've been nice to my children, I can be nice to no one else,"
Yeah.
and your spouse is always the one that you're not nice to because you're nice to the person at the checkout line, you're nice to the person at church, you're nice to your child's teacher, and then you get home and you're just like, "I am so tired," and your spouse gets all this junk. So flip that, like, "Wow, I'm not gonna see that teacher after this year. Why am I being so nice?" Obviously, be nice to your teacher, but
Yeah.
you're gonna be with your spouse the rest of your life. So be nice to him, be nice to her because that's who you're gonna be with. So I think that's super important in our minds to realize, okay, the priority relationship here is my spouse.
Yeah, and I think so many times, and I mean, I speak at homeschool conferences and parenting conferences, and I say this all the time, like, because we
Yeah.
only let our children pick one thing per year. So if they're
Yes.
doing a music thing, they're not doing a
Yep.
sports thing. Because we had so many. Oh, we all did. I had 7 kids in taekwondo. I mean, we were just doing all the things,
The
but
Goyers are
even
here, we're not gonna go out
I
of business.
like, literally, she gave me a discounted rate because she was like, "There's so many of you, like, we're just gonna do one lump for all of you." I'm like,
That's
"Thank you
awesome.
so much." But now we only have 3. 2 are not. One is sort of into sports. She does horseback riding. So it's our son, our last one,
Yep.
and he found this homeschool basketball team last year. We love the boys. This is a great environment. He's
Yep.
building friendships, and this year he's like, "It's just too much. If we're just gone every night." And
Yeah.
I was like thinking like, I think we should still have him do it. Like these are great friendships he'll have for life. And I was talking to my aunt about it. And she's like, "Don't force him." Like, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Then I started thinking about it more. And it was they did 37 games
Wow.
just locally, and then 4
Yeah.
out-of-state games, and then
Oh,
a
wow.
national tournament. So then I'm
Oh
like,
my
"That is a
goodness.
lot of time."
A lot
And
of
then I'm
time.
listening to your book. I'm like, "Okay, this is a confirmation after a
Oh my
confirmation."
goodness.
And I told my husband, he's like, "Oh, good. We could be home more." And so it's like, yes. So I think
Yes.
even us that do try to limit things, we're just in a world where we have to do something. We feel like we
Yes.
have to do something. And he goes, "I just like going and golfing with my friends," which it's not even like he's not on a league or anything. And I'm like,
Right.
"Okay,
And
okay,
isn't it
that's
funny? It's
fine."
it's more likely when he's a grown adult that that's what he'll do. Like, he'll
Exactly.
continue doing that and not traveling the world playing
Basketball.
basketball. Yes.
So I was just I love how like this was just a confirmation that like it
Yes.
literally applied to my
My
life
goodness.
today.
I
I'm
love
like,
how God
"Oh,
does those things.
okay. All right. This
Yeah,
is I needed this book. I didn't
yeah.
think I needed this book, but
Yes.
thank you, Arlene. I needed this
My
book."
word, that's awesome.
So I would love like how did it come where you're like this is the book I want to write? Because if you're like
Mm,
me, there's all these
yes.
ideas. We could go so many different things that we write about. So why did you want to write this book?
This will really play into the book with one of the book has 4 decisions in it, and one of the decisions is play by the rules. Like, have
Mhm.
ways that your marriage works so that it's not like you're not like, "Wait, what? What is that?" And one of ours, is that I respect my husband, I respect his opinion in my ministry/career, we've had those discussions. "Is this just a hobby? Because you don't make any money." Like, all
We
those
have
things.
that conversation
Right?
too.
Yeah, the conversation. So, in those kinds of moments, I wanted to write a marriage book about 10 years ago and even got, like, a green light, like, of a publisher that was interested, so I'm telling my husband about this, and he literally was like, "No, you just wrote a book. We have been so busy," you know what I mean? Like, you do the podcast, you do the speaking, and now you've just finished a book, and now you think you're gonna start another book, and he really just said, "No, I don't think it'd be good for our family." And,
Mm.
I could say, "Well, who are you to say that? Because it's me. I'm the one writing the book." But it does affect the whole family, right? And
Mhm.
just seeking God, right? He's not, he's doing the best he can too, and having
Yes.
so just so I felt like, "Okay, Lord, I'm gonna line up with that, and I'm gonna say to the publisher, 'You know what? Not now.' Maybe another time." And literally, because I feel like I said not now, then, like, this is the marriage book I was supposed to write. This is the
Mhm.
marriage book that's so much better than it would have been 10 years ago. My marriage is in a better place. Like, all those things, like, this is better. So for me, it was kind of the number 25 years. So once we hit that 25-year mark, I was like, now that'd be cool. Cause then I can say these are stories and things we've learned over the past 25 years. And I just like that it had a nice ring to it. So that's kind of
Mhm.
how that started. And then my original title was Marriage is Awesome because I just felt like it's been great. But very wisely, my publisher was like, yeah, people who have an awesome marriage, they'll just be like, yeah, I already got an awesome marriage. Why do I want to pick up that book? Awesome marriage. Great. So all that to say, then we were working through these titles and then realizing this is what we want to do. We want to help people to make marriage easier. That in
Mhm.
the same way, if I say, I want to exercise, but I don't do anything, it's like, okay, just like a wishful thinking thing. But if I say, I want to exercise, so you know what? I'm going to enroll in this spin class, which I did with my mother, and we're going to go twice a week to ride bicycles together, and we're going to pay money because I don't want to lose the money. And I'm going to put my shoes really easily. So I just step into them. I don't have to look for them. If I do these things, then I'm going to make exercise easier. And we have been spinning with this same lady for 21 years, my mom
That's
and I,
awesome.
because we made a decision that it was, that we were gonna do this, and it just stuck as a habit, and it made it easy because otherwise we would never do it. Like, neither my
Mhm.
mom or I would do it. But it's like, we know the instructor, it's like a set time every week, we see each other, it's got all these pulls to it. So in the same way, I wanted to make marriage easier by what's,
Mhm.
something specific that you can do that hopefully you will get from this book. What are attitudes that if you were to adjust them, it'll just make marriage so much easier. So you're not hitting the same wall over and over and over again. So I'm so blessed to, had the opportunity to do it. And it's an opportunity to share all these funny stories. We've always thought to myself, why do I have such a crazy husband that makes me do all these crazy antics? And I figured, oh, it's because I'm an author and I can write about them. So that's been
Yeah. Oh, I love that, and it's so true because when you make a decision, like we made a decision, we've been married 35 years,
yeah,
to have dinner together every night. So
yeah,
even and then we did that with all our kids. So even if my husband's like late on a work call, we're
yeah.
literally sitting there like 'cause they're like he'll be done soon. Like they don't want to eat without dad. Like
Oh,
or
feels
going to
weird.
going to church together,
Yeah.
or we go to bed together at the same time.
Yes.
So I mean, there's these things that we just it's a habit, and that's what we do, and so it's easy to do those things because that's the habit we developed.
So good. That's so perfect. And it is, it's similar. You don't have to think about it. It's something you do and it bonds you every single day. It's so good.
Yeah, okay, but we have to talk about a couple of these crazy stories because
Okay.
they are so funny. Climbing over the wall
Ah,
at the
Dallas Arboretum.
I'm
Most
like,
people most people
I would
walk
have been
to the
like, "No,
Arboretum.
I'm not climbing over the wall."
This is the point in the book where I talk about, like, it's okay once in a while for your spouse to push you out of your comfort zone, and so my husband and I were newlyweds. We were living in Dallas, Texas. We were going into the Dallas Arboretum, very nice, this is lovely, paid our ticket, walked through the acres and acres of these pretty gardens, and about 2 hours into it, my husband's like, "Oh, look, there's our car," because it's, you could see the parking lot from this certain part of the garden, and he's like, "We could jump that fence, and then we could just leave
Oh
instead
my.
of, like, going all the way through the arboretum, going out the exit, and then going all the way to the parking lot." So to him and many men listening to me, this was like a brilliant idea. Like, we could shave a good 30 minutes off this if you would just jump over this fence. Well, the fence is like 10 feet tall, and I don't jump over anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, nothing. I don't jump over anything. And so I'm like, "No, I don't think so." But he talks me into it, and before I know it, like, he's got his hands, like, in that position for me to put my foot in, and he's gonna hoist me up. So he hoists me up over it, and I'm tall, I'm 5'10", so I have one leg on one side, the other leg on the other side, and I'm sitting on the top of it, and I'm completely freaking out, like, starting to cry, like, "Why am I up here?" I'm mortified. He had talked me into doing it because there was no one there, but there were people now starting to come into view, and I'm like, mortified, like, they don't know if I'm
As
calling
you're
in
sitting
or
on top
calling
of
out,
the
like,
wall.
why am
Yeah.
I on the fence, like, I would scale it from the parking lot to avoid the ticket fee, like, I was so embarrassed, and I'm crying, and I'm just like, "Oh my god," and then he's frustrated, like, what is wrong with her that she cannot swing her leg over and just jump down? So he literally, like, jumps over it like a rabbit. He's just like, and he's on the other side, and he's just like, all you have to do is swing your leg over and jump down. And honestly, it was like we were both equally frustrated. Me, like, I cannot believe you betrayed me and you put me on a fence and you made me do this. And him, like, have you never taken a PE class? Like, do you not know how to, like, just swing your leg over? Like, what is physically wrong with you? So finally, I got the leg over. I, like, kind of fell into a heap. And boy, that, I tell you what, we were not happy with each other for, for that time and the ride, and I think by the time we got home, maybe we were laughing about it, but oh my word, and that is just that feeling of sometimes you're in your way and your spouse is, like, pushing you to their way, and you've got one foot in each world, and you are
Mhm.
just like, "I do not wanna move," but it is that discomfort that
Mhm.
causes us to grow, whether it's a physical move, like what you're, whenever we move, that's something. Whether you have to take a new job, whether you lose a job, like whatever it is, like this new thing that feels so mortifying. Like, I am sitting on top of this fence. Just trust the process and go towards your spouse and just use these little things to grow. And because really the bumps, they do make life much more exciting than if
Yeah.
everything was super predictable and always going through the doors like you're supposed to. It is they are actually welcome diversions after you step away from them. At the time, no one wants them, but later you're like, "That was really funny." And the sooner we can say in our marriages, "That was really funny," the better, because these things that happen that can be difficulties, they really can be the things that bring you together.
Yeah, and when you realize, like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing that no, I don't ever want to zip line or whatever it is. I
Yeah,
don't ever want to do this thing.
it's
Like there's
true.
times I remember I was leading an experiencing God Bible study, and it talks about like if there's someone in your church from a different country, you're called to that country. Well, we had a Czech lady in our church, and I had been there on a research trip, love the Czech Republic, and
My
I was
goodness.
sweeping after Wednesday supper, and I'm like, mission trip to the Czech Republic. We just like I feel like God calling us to this. Going to the Bible study. It's a Wednesday night at church. And all of a sudden I'm like bursting, like, I think we need to go on a mission trip to the Czech Republic. My husband looks at me like, what are you talking about? Because it just came to me like 3 minutes ago. And now I'm
I
like ready. Like,
know.
who wants to go? And he's like, what? Like,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
the first I've heard of this, and we've never gone on a mission trip, let alone lead a mission trip, and, like but we ended up God moved, we,
Oh,
like, took
how
19 people the
funny.
following year, like, it was very clearly but he was like but the shock on his face, and then likewise, 15 years ago, about 16 years ago now, he's like, "I feel God is, like, calling us" we lived in Montana, most beautiful place on earth. "I feel like God is calling us, like, to the South to, I don't know, marriage. Like, I was just like looking at him like, what? I'm not hearing anything. I love Montana. I love
Yeah.
our church. I help start a crisis. Like, I'm totally
Oh,
content. And he's just like, I just have, like, I don't know. I just feel this stirring. And I'm like looking at him like, you are crazy. And we were going to a weekend to remember because I wanted to get away with my husband. Like, you
yeah.
know, and on the way there, he's talking. I literally fell asleep in the car when he was just talking about. I just feel like, I don't know, like God is calling us. We were
Oh,
there
honey.
at the weekend to remember, and they're like, if you ever want to come on staff at Family Life, you would have
Oh
to
my
move to the South and serve a marriage ministry. My husband's head flipped around so quickly. I was like, what in the world? Like, because it was
Oh,
literally so clear. Because if he hadn't been
oh my
talking about this for like 2 months, there's
totally.
no way. There's no way. Like, and
Yes.
I knew, like, I think this is, anyway, we live in Little Rock now. He only worked in that ministry
Oh my
3 years, but we stayed here. We adopted 6 children from foster care in Arkansas. So I think there's these times where, you know, climbing over a fence or
totally.
bigger things like mission
Yes.
trips or moving someplace.
Huge.
Just like this is going overseas and leading. We took
Yeah.
13 teenagers with us. 13 teenagers overseas when we never been there before on a mission trip. And then
Oh
likewise moving to Arkansas when I was completely
goodness.
content. Sometimes it's those bigger things, but knowing that God can speak to our spouse and we can trust that
Mm,
and we
yes.
can be open to getting out of our comfort zone actually can
Totally.
bring us together on these common things.
That's so beautiful. The chapter is comfort is overrated, and my goodness, you certainly experienced that. That is amazing.
Yeah, so I mean there's so many good things. I'm only halfway through the book. I'm already loving it. I'm already applying it to our good marriage. I think anyone can benefit from it. So again, the book is Making Marriage Easier: How to Love and Like Your Spouse for Life. Sometimes you do love them. It's harder to like them at
That's
seasons.
right.
But Arlene, I'm just so glad that you're here. Where can people go to find more information about the book and you
Yes.
and your other books and the podcast and all the things?
Yes, you can go get the book wherever you get books, and then you can go get to makingmarriageeasier.com, and you can listen to the first chapter of the book. You can download discussion questions. You can get date night ideas, even if you just have 15 minutes. So makingmarriageeasier.com, the Happy Home Podcast. And if you want to see my other books, it's just my name, arlenepellicane.com.
Yep. Thank you, Arlene, so much. I really enjoyed just connecting with you again.
This has been so fun. I'm glad we have the podcast so we can talk to each other.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Thank you, Trisha.